Hi, my name is Caroline and my partner is Lisa, and our curriculum action project explores questionnaires. So we wanted to begin by defining the term questionnaire, and according to our textbook by McKernan, a questionnaire is a very commonly used approach that collects data. This is similar to an interview, except it does not have face-to-face interactions. Rather, the respondent is reading a set of predetermined questions and answering on their own. Questionnaires provides an individual with questions in written form that require answers that could be open-ended or closed. Open-ended is when the respondent shares their answers in their own words. An example of this would be, what topic should be included next year? Or how do you feel about the sense of community in the classroom? This would allow the respondent to have the freedom to share their answers. And closed or fixed or forced choices are when the respondent selects an answer from a preset menu of options. For example, the researcher may ask yes or no questions, or I agree or disagree. Questionnaires can also be utilized when collecting factual or values and attitude data, which is also called dispositions. According to our textbook, factual data must have empirically verifiable information. Those questions may include, how many professional development trainings did you attend this school year? The values data would assess a respondent's feelings, such as how did you feel about the technology training? And McKernan on page 128 states that factual items collect data about what the case is, while value items request data about what should or ought to be the case. There are three types of questionnaires. We have mail, group administered, and personal contact. The mail or postal questionnaires are when there are predetermined questions that are sent to a person and the respondent is expected to complete and return the questionnaire. The group administered questionnaires are when a group of people come together in order to answer a questionnaire in one location. And it's important to note that the researcher may or may not be present at the time. And this is also the most preferred strategy by teachers in order to pull information regarding curriculum or end of unit evaluations. And then personal contact questionnaire is when the respondent is contacted by the researcher and asks the questions and records the answers, which is similar to an interview. And then there are many advantages for utilizing a questionnaire. They are quick and easy to complete, especially if there are only a few questions. It allows the respondent to give direct responses on how they feel about a certain topic. A questionnaire is also beneficial when surveying large amounts of people in a quick manner, and information can be calculated and totaled very quickly. However, there are also a few disadvantages, which includes honesty. Some participants may not feel comfortable with answering honestly and sharing how they truly feel due to fear and worry that the questionnaire may not be anonymous. And analyzing the questions can take a long time, and creating the list of meaningful questions can be difficult and time-consuming. It's also important to note that questionnaires should not be too long, and it should be clearly worded in simple terms. Questionnaires can support teachers within the classroom. For example, teachers can gather student information through a set of predetermined questions. These questions may relate to student engagement or comprehension of lessons and assignments. This allows the teachers to study the data that was collected and adjust teaching practices as necessary, and then create future meaningful lessons in order to meet the needs of their students. Teachers can also gather data regarding student safety and how they feel within the classroom community. And questionnaires support students by giving them an opportunity to share feedback with their teachers. This allows them to voice their concerns to teachers or share their feelings regarding instruction or an assignment. This is especially beneficial for a student who may be introverted or shy and not comfortable with speaking directly to the teacher face-to-face. For example, they can share their experience with their peers when working in a group assignment. Students can also self-assess themselves when reviewing their answers of the questionnaire.
Okay, so now that we understand and know what a questionnaire is, we found a scholarly article in the journal called Medicine, which was administered 8 weeks after the COVID-19 pandemic hit. When this happened, the questionnaire was administered to Polish medical students and who were forced to have online learning due to the pandemic. Like I said, they had been in classes for about 8 weeks prior to having this survey. The survey was administered to 804 students who participated in it. It was administered over a forum on Facebook. And the goal of the study was to determine the perception and analyze the perception of these Polish medical students. So again, the hypothesis of this study was to analyze the perception of medical students in an online learning teaching approach. The questionnaire that was administered had 4 different parts, including the demographics, the advantages and disadvantages, the comparison to face-to-face learning, and the level of acceptance. The questionnaire was assessed by the bioethical committee prior to being sent out. The data was then analyzed using 4 different statistical observations. So they used a statistical software, they used a descriptive statistics, they used the non-parametric Wilcoxon signed rank test, and the chi-square and Mann-Whitney tests in order to compare all the data that they collected and made sure that the data and results were meaningful. Here is actually the example and the actual survey that went out to students. So you can see, again, the basic demographics, advantages and disadvantages of e-learning, the comparison between face-to-face using a scale, and the acceptance of e-learning. So when it comes to the methods and results, we rated this a 4 out of 5. Based on the initial hypothesis, we said that the researchers were able to analyze the perceptions of online learning for medical students in Poland, which met their hypothesis and met their goal of the study. When it comes to rigor of design, the questionnaire questions were assessed by the bioethical committee. There was not any exclusion criteria of who could participate in the study. Each student was allowed to complete the questionnaire 1 time, and all respondents were aware of the objectives and participated voluntarily. The questionnaire was distributed via a forum on Facebook, which means that maybe we didn't survey, they did not survey all of the Polish medical students, which means, you know, they have to consider looking and making sure that they have a full picture of the population that they are surveying. The author's choice in terms of interpretability and findings, the data was analyzed using 4 different statistical methods to appropriately measure the information collected in each area of the questionnaire. The results were discussed based on the 4 topic area. Results were discussed based on the 4 topics areas in the questionnaire, and data was presented clearly and statistical significance was discussed in each area. So the reason we gave it a 4 out of 5 is really based on that. The questionnaire wasn't distributed to all Polish medical students. So really to make assumptions, we want to make sure that we're being clear about that. The implications and applications, we gave a 5 out of 5. The authors state that this study showed that e-learning is a valuable method of teaching medical students. In the opinion of the respondents in our survey, e-learning is effective in increasing knowledge and is highly accepted. However, it is important not to only focus on increasing knowledge, but also clinical and social skills. This is important, and why this study matters for educators is to be aware of when planning online learning opportunities, they need to ensure a well-rounded experience with the content that's being taught. How will this benefit the topic of research? So it allows researchers to understand that e-learning or online learning implementation requires a more active approach, including but not limited to consideration of content, access to materials, and feedback. So based on our methods and our based on our methods and results and implications and applications, our conclusion and overall rating is a 4.5 out of 5. The reason we gave it a 4.5 out of 5 is because the implementation and usage of the questionnaire was appropriate and related to the objective and hypothesis of the research. The questionnaire was assessed by the bioethical committee to ensure meaningful questions. Data was analyzed within each section of the questionnaire to appropriately measure the information collected. Discussion of the data, limitations, and conclusions were explicit in the study itself. 804 Polish medical students were surveyed, but again, is there more medical students than that will create an accurate depiction of this population? So more research may be needed to determine this. And the distribution of the questionnaire was through a form on Facebook, which may result in incorrect population completing the questionnaire to ensure the anonymous piece of that survey and that questionnaire. Here are our references for both this study and our textbook. And thank you so much. That is our presentation.